Xdefinitions is a utility that allows us to describe the structure, content, and processing of XML objects. When compared to DTD or XML Schema, Xdefinitions are easier to create, much easier to read and maintain. In this tutorial, we'll introduce the validation process whereby we create a new Xdefinition and run validation on an example XML file. We'll also learn to generate XML schema using Xdefinition. Here we have an XML file containing a list of several books. As we can see, there are different types of data, such as the book title string, ISBN number, and the publishing year. We can create a corresponding Xdefinition from our list by replacing each element value with its expected number of occurrence and data type. To create a new Xdefinition file, we'll first set the name of the Xdefinition. We'll also specify the name of the root element. Now we can go on to specify the actual elements, their attributes and values based on our original XML file. The root list element will contain several book sub-elements. We also want to have an unlimited number of books in our list, so using the Xdefinition script, we can set the occurrence from 0 to unlimited. Each book has to have a unique ISBN number. Therefore, we'll set the attribute to required number sequence. We'll also specify the parameter for the minimum and maximum number of digits. Only some books have a recorded year of publishing. Therefore, we'll set the attribute to optional. We want every book to have a title, so we should set the occurrence from 1 to 1. However, if the occurrence is not specified, Xdefinitions will set the default value to 1, so we don't have to explicitly write it out for this element. The value of the element will be a string. There can be either no known author or there could be several authors. Sometimes we don't have the author's first name, so we'll set that to optional. We want to always have at least the author's surname, so we'll set that to required. And this is how you create a simple Xdefinition file. Now that we've created our Xdefinition, we can use it for validation purposes. We'll create an XD pool which contains compiled Xdefinitions. You can add multiple files to the pool, but for now, we're just adding a single Xdefinition file. We'll select our list Xdefinition from the pool and create an XD document, which is essentially an instance of the Xdefinition. Xdefinitions are selected using the unique name as specified in the Xdefinition file itself. We'll load our example XML file as a string. We'll be using the same list of books example XML file from before. We can then pass this string into the XD document. This will both validate the XML and generate a W3C DOM element, which you can work with as usual. Also note that we can replace the null parameter with an array reporter so that validation errors are reported there instead of throwing out an exception while the program is running. Let's try and start up the validation process. You can see that the validation process finished without any errors, which means that the XML file was correctly formatted. Let's have a look at what happens when the XML file does not pass validation. ISBN only accepts digits. If we add a letter to that, we get an error. Remember, we also specified the allowed number of digits. Therefore, our sequence of numbers cannot be too long. Let's have a look at generating XML schema using Xdefinition. This is actually a very useful utility because, in contrast with XML schema, Xdefinitions are really easy to write, and it's also easy to modify them later. We'll use this Xdef to XSD class. You would usually call its main method from the command line, but for our purposes, we'll just run it here. The method takes command line arguments as parameters. For input, we'll provide a source with Xdefinitions. We only have one Xdefinition, but you can add multiple sources separated by a comma. Next, we'll provide the output directory. Now let's try running it. And here we've successfully generated an XML schema. This was the first video showcasing some of the many features of Xdefinitions. Stay tuned for more tutorials to come, and thanks for watching.